I could hear muffled voices through the heavy oak door of my son-in-law's home office. My hand froze on the doorknob, the $23 million cashier's check burning like hot coal in my purse. Just 30 minutes earlier, I'd been sitting in my attorney's office in downtown Portland, staring at the check that represented the sale of the medical supply company I'd built from nothing over 40 years. Mr. Harrison, my lawyer, had urged me to wait, to think carefully about my next steps. But I couldn't contain my excitement. My daughter Emma and her husband Bradley had struggled financially for years, juggling 2 mortgages and Bradley's failed restaurant ventures. This money would change everything for them. For our family. I'd driven straight to their house in Lake Oswego, rehearsing in my mind how Emma's face would light up when I told her maybe they could finally take that trip to Italy she'd always dreamed about. Maybe Bradley could open the gastro pub he'd been planning. Maybe my 2 granddaughters could go to private school. But now, standing in their hallway, I heard Bradley's voice, sharp and calculating. "I'm telling you, Marcus, this is it. The old lady just sold her company for $23 million. Emma's her only child. We play this right, we're set for life." A man's laugh crackled through a speakerphone. "And Emma's on board?" "Emma doesn't need to know the details," Bradley said. "She thinks her mom's some kind of saint. She'll convince her to invest in our restaurant group. Once the money's in our LLC, I'll have control. Emma's name won't even be on the accounts." My breath caught in my throat. The hallway seemed to tilt. "What about the prenup?" the voice on the phone asked. "There isn't one." I made sure of that. Told Emma prenups meant I didn't trust her, made her feel guilty for even bringing it up. Any money that comes into our marriage is joint property, including anything from Mommy Dearest. "You're a cold bastard, Bradley." "I'm a smart bastard. I've put up with that woman's judgment for 12 years. Every Sunday dinner, she looks at me like I'm something she scraped off her shoe, acts like Emma could have done better. Well, who's the smart one now? I'll take her precious money. Emma can keep playing the devoted daughter, and by the time anyone figures out what happened, the cash will be long gone." I backed away from the door, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Emma. "Mom, are you coming over? Bradley said you had big news." My hands trembled as I typed back. Something came up. "Can we meet tomorrow? Just you and me?" I drove home in a fog. My house, the same craftsman bungalow I'd bought 43 years ago when I was a single mother with a 2-year-old daughter and a dream, felt different. Empty. The walls seemed to mock me. All those years of sacrifice. All those nights I'd worked until dawn, all those school events I'd missed, all those holidays spent in the office, all of it so Emma could have better than I had, so she could go to Stanford, so she could have her fairy tale wedding, so she could live in that beautiful house in Lake Oswego. And she'd married a con artist. I poured myself 2 fingers of scotch, something I hadn't done in years, and sat in my late husband's chair. George had died of a heart attack when Emma was 7. For 36 years, it had been just the 2 of us against the world. I'd protected her from everything. Apparently, I'd failed to protect her from the biggest threat of all. My phone rang. "Emma. Mom? Is everything okay? Your text worried me." I almost told her everything right then. Almost warned her. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the memory of her wedding day, how she'd looked at Bradley like he hung the moon. Maybe it was the tremor of doubt I'd heard in her voice 3 months ago when she'd mentioned their financial problems. Maybe it was 40 years of business instincts kicking in. "Everything's fine, sweetheart," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I just need to discuss something with you. Private, mother-daughter time." "That sounds serious." "It's about your inheritance. Your father and I always planned for your future, and now that the company's sold, we need to talk about protecting your interests. Bradley should be part of that conversation." My throat tightened. "This is about your separate property, Emma. Trust me, it's better if we talk alone first." She agreed, reluctantly. We set a lunch date for the next day at her favorite restaurant, the one Bradley's money problems had forced her to stop visiting. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started doing research. By dawn, I had a plan. At 8 a.m., I called my attorney. "Mr. Harrison, I need you to set up an irrevocable trust. Today, before I meet with my daughter." "Mrs. Palmer, these things take time. I'll pay whatever it costs for expedited service. I need this done by noon. May I ask what changed since yesterday? I told him what I'd overheard. There was a long pause. Mrs. Palmer, I'm going to recommend you speak with a colleague of mine who specializes in family law. I think we need to protect not just your assets, but your daughters as well. By 11 a.m., I was sitting in a conference room with Mr. Harrison and a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chen, who'd handled some of Portland's most contentious divorces. By 11:45, we had a strategy. I met Emma at Higgins at noon. She looked beautiful but tired, wearing a dress I'd bought her 2 Christmases ago. The Cartier bracelet Bradley had given her for their anniversary caught the light. I happened to know he'd bought it with a credit card he'd opened, in her name without telling her. I'd found out 6 months ago, when she'd mentioned her credit score had mysteriously dropped. "Mom, you look exhausted," she said, kissing my cheek. "Are you feeling okay?" "I'm fine, darling. Just a lot on my mind." We ordered. She got the salad, even though I could see her eyeing the steak. I remembered when Bradley had put her on a budget, claiming they needed to cut back, even as he bought a new Tesla. "So," she said, folding her hands on the table, "what did you want to talk about?" I took a breath. "Emma, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. Can you do that?" Her smile faded. She nodded. "I sold Palmer Medical Supply for $23 million. Before you say anything, the money is already protected in an irrevocable trust. You are the sole beneficiary. Bradley cannot touch it, cannot claim it as marital property, and cannot convince you to invest it in anything." Her mouth opened, closed. "Mom, I don't understand. Bradley and I are married. We share everything." "Do you?" I leaned forward. "Emma, do you know that Bradley opened 3 credit cards in your name? Do you know he has $17,000 in gambling debts? Do you know that the restaurant he told you failed because of bad location actually failed because he was skimming from the till to pay off a loan shark?" The color drained from her face. "How do you—" "Because I hired a private investigator 6 months ago. I had a feeling, Emma, a mother's intuition. And yesterday, I overheard Bradley on the phone, planning how to steal your inheritance. I told her everything, watched her face crumble, watched 12 years of marriage crack like a windshield in winter. "I don't believe you," she whispered, but her eyes said otherwise. I pulled out a folder. Bank statements, credit reports, photos of Bradley at an underground poker game, a recorded conversation with the loan shark, everything Patricia Chen had told me we'd need. "I'm sorry. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry." Emma's hands shook as she flipped through the pages. Tears rolled down her cheeks, smudging her mascara. "The girls," she finally said. "Sophia and Grace. How do I tell them?" "We protect them first. Then we tell them the truth." "Does Bradley know you know?" "Not yet." She looked up at me, and for the first time in years, I saw the fierce little girl who used to stand up to playground bullies. "What do we do?" I smiled. "We do what I should have taught you a long time ago. We fight smart." Over the next 2 hours, Patricia Chen joined us at the restaurant and laid out the plan. Emma would go home, act normal, and tell Bradley that I was considering investing in his restaurant group. She'd say I wanted to see a business plan first, that I was being cautious but open. Meanwhile, Patricia would file for divorce, but we'd keep it sealed for 30 days while we gathered more evidence. We'd freeze joint accounts. We'd document everything. "What if he finds out?" Emma asked. "He won't," Patricia said. "Men like Bradley are arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. We'll use that against him." That night, Emma called me, crying. "He was so sweet tonight, Mom. Made dinner, told me he loved me, asked about you, about the sale, said he was proud of me for having such a successful mother." "That's the man you fell in love with," I said gently. "But it's also an act, sweetheart. Remember what he said on that phone call." "I know. 12 years. How did I not see it?" "Because you loved him. Love makes us blind. Did you love Dad?" "Very much. Would he have done this to you?" I thought about George, about how he'd worked 2 jobs to support my business dream, about how he'd never asked for anything except to be part of our family. "No, baby. Your father was a good man. They exist. Bradley just isn't one of them." The next 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. Watching Emma pretend. Watching her smile at Bradley while her heart broke. Watching my granddaughters hug their father while I knew what was coming. Bradley took the bait beautifully. He presented Emma with a business plan that was mostly clip art and stolen ideas. He talked about farm-to-table concepts and craft cocktails. He projected $1 million profit in year one. "My partner Marcus is already scouting locations," he told us over Sunday dinner. "With your mom's investment, we could have 3 locations open by next summer." I played the skeptical investor perfectly. Asked hard questions. Demanded financial projections. Insisted on meeting this mysterious Marcus. "He's out of town," Bradley said quickly. "But he's eager to meet you, Mrs. Palmer." I smiled. "I'm sure he is." On day 23, our private investigator hit gold. Bradley had a second phone, a burner. And on that phone were text messages to not just Marcus, but to a woman named Sienna. Explicit messages, photos, hotel receipts spanning 2 years. Emma sobbed in my arms when I showed her. "I'm so stupid, so incredibly stupid." "You're not stupid. You're human." "He's a professional liar, Emma. This isn't on you. How many other women?" "We think just her. But does it matter?" She pulled back, wiped her eyes. "No, I guess it doesn't." On day 29, Patricia filed the divorce papers and had Bradley served at his office. Emma and the girls were already at my house, their important belongings packed. Bradley called my phone 16 times before I answered. "What the hell did you do?" he screamed. "I protected my daughter." "You poisoned her against me! This is your fault!" "No, Bradley, this is your fault. I have recordings of you planning to steal from Emma. I have evidence of your gambling debts, your fraud, your affair. I have everything." Silence. Then, "You're bluffing. Try me. We'll see you in court." "And Bradley?" "Marcus sends his regards. Turns out he's quite chatty when a private investigator offers him immunity in exchange for testimony." I hung up. The divorce took 8 months. Bradley fought dirty, made accusations, tried to turn our friends against Emma, even tried to convince the judge that I'd unduly influenced her. But Patricia Chen was worth every penny. We had evidence, we had witnesses. We had Marcus, who testified that Bradley had planned the whole scam from the beginning, that he'd specifically targeted Emma because he knew she'd inherit someday. In the end, Bradley got nothing. The house went to Emma. The retirement accounts were split, but most were in Emma's name anyway. His restaurant debts were his alone. And the prenup I'd had Patricia draw up backdated to their engagement and discovered in Emma's storage unit held up in court. The girls took it hard. Sophia, at 14, understood more than we wanted her to. Grace, at 11, just wanted her dad. We got them into therapy. We were honest with them, age appropriately. We let them be angry. "Why do bad things happen to good people, Grandma?" Grace asked me one night. "Because bad people exist, sweetheart. But good people survive, and they become stronger. Like you? Like your mother. She's the strongest person I know." A year later, Emma and I were sitting on my back porch, watching Sophia and Grace play with my neighbor's golden retriever. Emma had gone back to school to finish her master's degree. She'd lost 30 pounds, not from stress, but from happiness. She glowed. "I got a letter from Bradley," she said quietly. "And? He says he's sorry. Says he got in over his head. Says he wants to see the girls." "What did you tell him?" "That he can see them supervised, once a month, if he completes an addiction program and pays child support." "That's generous." She shrugged. "They're his daughters. I can't take that away, no matter what he did to me." "You're a better person than I am." "No, Mom. I learned from the best." She took my hand. "Thank you. For protecting me. For seeing what I couldn't see. That's what mothers do." "The trust fund. It's more money than I'll ever need. It's yours. Do whatever you want with it." I was thinking about going back to work. Maybe starting a nonprofit. Something for women leaving abusive marriages. I squeezed her hand. "Your father would be so proud." "What about you? What are you going to do with your share?" I looked out at my garden, at the house I'd built a life in, at the granddaughters playing in the grass. "I think I'm going to travel. I've spent 40 years building something. Maybe it's time I see the world." "Italy?" "For starters." Emma leaned her head on my shoulder. Take me with you? Always, baby. Always. 3 months later, Emma and I were standing in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, looking at Botticelli's Birth of Venus. Sophia and Grace were with George's sister back in Portland, enjoying time with their great-aunt. Emma had her arm linked through mine. "Do you think Venus was happy?" she asked. "I think she was free," I said. "That's better than happy." "Is that what we are now? Free?" I thought about the call I'd received that morning. Bradley had been arrested for tax fraud. Apparently, Marcus had turned state's witness in a much larger scheme. Bradley was looking at 5 years minimum. "Yes," I said. "We're free." Emma smiled, and it reached her eyes this time. Real joy, hard-won and precious. That night, over Chianti and pasta carbonara at a tiny restaurant near the Ponte Vecchio, Emma raised her glass to Mom. "For saving my life." "To us," I corrected. "For saving each other." We clinked glasses, and I realized something. For 40 years, I'd defined myself by my business, by my success, by what I'd built. But this sitting across from my daughter, watching her become the woman she was always meant to be, knowing I'd protected her from a monster, this was my greatest achievement. Not the millions, not the company, not the empire I'd built from nothing. This, her smile, her freedom, her future. "What are you thinking about?" Emma asked. "I'm thinking your father would tell me I did good. He would tell you that you did great, Mom." "You always do." I looked at my daughter, this beautiful, strong, resilient woman, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. "You know what the best part is?" I said. "What?" "Bradley thought he could manipulate us because we're women, because we're trusting, because we believe in love and family. He thought those were weaknesses, but they're not. No, baby, they're our superpowers. We trust, but we verify. We love, but we protect. We forgive, but we never forget." Emma laughed, a real laugh that turned heads at nearby tables. "When did you get so wise?" "About 40 years ago, when I became a mother. We stayed in Italy for 3 weeks, visited Rome, Venice, the Amalfi Coast. Emma started dating again, a kind professor she met at the Vatican Museum. Nothing serious, but it was a start. When we got home, I found a letter waiting, from Bradley. I almost threw it away unread, but something made me open it. "Dear Mrs. Palmer," it began, "you probably don't want to hear from me, and I don't blame you, but I need you to know something. You were right about everything. I was a con artist. I targeted Emma. I never loved her the way she deserved. I've had a lot of time to think in here about the man I became and the man I could have been. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that if I could go back, I'd do everything differently. Not because I got caught, but because Emma and those girls deserved better than what I gave them. Thank you for being the person I should have been. Thank you for protecting your family the way I never did. Bradley." I read it twice, then filed it with all the other court documents. Maybe someday Emma would want to see it. Maybe not. It didn't matter anymore. That Sunday, I started a new tradition. Every week, Emma and the girls came over for dinner. We cooked together, laughed together, lived together. We talked about their weeks, their dreams, their fears. We were a family, maybe smaller than before, but stronger. One evening, Grace asked me, "Grandma, are you ever going to get married again?" "I was married once, to the love of my life. That's enough for me. Don't you get lonely?" I looked around the table. Emma, animated as she told a story about her nonprofit's first fundraiser. Sophia, rolling her eyes but smiling. Grace, still believing in fairy tales despite everything. "No, sweetheart. I'm not lonely at all." Later, after they'd gone home, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine and thought about George, about how he'd always told me I was stronger than I knew, about how he'd believed in me when no one else did. "I protected our girl," I whispered to the stars. "I did what you would have done." Somewhere, I liked to think he was smiling. The trust fund I'd set up for Emma was ironclad. Bradley had tried everything to break it, but Patricia Chen had built it like Fort Knox. The money would go to Emma, to Sophia, to Grace, to their children someday. It would fund educations, start businesses, create opportunities. It would be the legacy George and I had always wanted to leave. But more than that, I'd given Emma something money couldn't buy: the knowledge that she was worth protecting, that she deserved respect, dignity, love, that she didn't have to settle for crumbs when she deserved the whole cake. A year after our Italy trip, Emma came to me with news. "I'm seeing someone." "The professor?" "Yes. His name is David. He's divorced, has 2 kids. He's kind, Mom, really kind, patient with the girls, honest about his past. He makes me laugh." "Are you happy?" "I'm cautious. But yes, I think I'm happy." "Then I'm happy for you." "Will you meet him?" "But not in interrogation mode. Promise?" I smiled. "I promise nothing." But when I met David Chen, Patricia's younger brother, as fate would have it, I liked him immediately. He didn't try too hard, didn't make grand gestures, just treated Emma like she was valuable, which she was. "Your sister speaks highly of you," I told him over coffee. "My sister is terrifying," he said with a grin, "but effective. She saved my daughter." She told me, "For what it's worth, Mrs. Palmer, I'm not Bradley. I don't want Emma's money. I make my own. I just want her time, her heart, her laughter. The rest is noise." I believed him. And more importantly, Emma believed him. They got engaged on Emma's 41st birthday. Small ceremony, no prenup drama this time because David insisted on one himself. "We both have kids," he said. "Let's protect everyone." Smart man. I walked Emma down the aisle, and this time, when I gave her away, I felt peace instead of dread. This time, the man at the altar looked at her like she was precious. This time, I knew she'd be safe. At the reception, Grace found me watching the dancing. "You did good, Grandma." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "You saved Mom. Twice. Once from Bradley, once from being alone forever. Your mom saved herself. I just gave her the tools. Will you teach me how to be strong like you and Mom?" I pulled her close. "Baby girl, you're already strong. You survived your parents' divorce. You kept believing in love. You stayed kind even when the world was cruel. That's the strongest thing of all." She hugged me tight, and I thought about all the women in our family. My grandmother, who'd survived the Depression. My mother, who'd raised 6 kids alone. Me, building a business in a man's world. Emma, rising from the ashes of a bad marriage. Sophia and Grace, learning to be strong and soft at the same time. We were warriors. All of us. Fighters. Survivors. And we were free. That night, I went home to my quiet house and poured myself a scotch, sat in George's chair, looked at the life we'd built. 43 years ago, I'd been a terrified single mother with nothing but a dream and a baby. Tonight, I was a woman who'd built an empire, saved her daughter, protected her granddaughters, and lived to tell the tale. Not bad for a girl from nowhere. I raised my glass to George, to Emma, to the life we'd fought for. "We won," I whispered. "We actually won." And somewhere, in the quiet of my heart, I heard him answer, "I never doubted you for a second."